Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
Bob, there is so much going on in the industry, from shows to sales figures and all kinds of new stuff. And on this show, I'm talking with, believe it or not, a second generation full timer. Amazing. How about you? Who are you going to be talking to?
I've got an interview with Mike Hesse, the CEO of Blue Ox, a great American manufacturer out there in the cornfields of Nebraska. Talking about the pitches and their American-made products.
Yeah, and we've got all the news of the industry. It's all coming up on this edition of, Bob,
the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, folks. And welcome back to the Camper Report Show. This is our news segment where we bring you up to date on everything that's going on in the industry. And Bob, to say that there is a quiet time of the year for the industry, I mean, it just doesn't happen anymore. We're looking at some of the results of the sales at the Tampa RV show, which kind of like sets the tone for the year. And like our friends at the Rev Group, a 40% increase over last year, with a 25% decrease in attendance. Wouldn't you say that that means that the RV buying public is anxious to get going again?
Yeah, they really are. We're seeing that all around, and that's the only show that we've really had, the big show that we've had. But the activity level continues right along with the dealers themselves. And Rev Group has done a really nice job in bringing back the Fleetwood lines, the Holiday Ramble lines. They've got a really good lineup there. Everything from Class Bs to the American Coach, which is their premier diesel pusher line.
You know, you bring up the line about that was really the only live in-person show. And it's true. You know, last week we told you about the Detroit show being canceled for this year. But the fact is, there is a brand new, first time ever online only show coming out to satisfy the needs of the RV buying public. And you've got something to do with it. Talk about the New England RV and Camping Expo.
Yeah, we just launched it today. It has national implications and it has expansion capabilities. It doesn't replace the Boston RV and Camping Expo. That's been rescheduled for January of next year. But we thought there was a need for more education and training workshops, especially with the first-time buyers. So we combined it into a 2-day event, and unlike some of the others, it's on a Saturday and Sunday, April 10th and 11th. We'll have dealers represented. We'll have big significant campground presence, keynotes and main stage presentations, all online, live and online for 2 days. And we think it's going to be a big hit. And with the launch today, just on the media release that we published out today, we've already had 3 inquiries from dealers. And I know you've had a couple of inquiries from national companies that want to exhibit.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part about this show is that it's not just a selling show, but it's really an educational show, because there will be, I'm told, 18 seminars over 2 days. And these are not just seminars by a couple that is, talking about driving to Maine from Florida. I mean, these are industry leaders that are going to be providing the info. But beyond that, there are workshops and an opportunity for people to find out all about campgrounds and accessories. And you know what? The fact that it's online, the weather is totally irrelevant.
Weather doesn't matter. You sit at home, relax, have a cup of coffee, and watch us for 2 days. So it's going to be big. And again, it's more focused on the education and the training, getting people to become familiar with the campgrounds, make their reservations, and also the national speakers will add a lot to it. And we'll be posting stuff on that on our NERVDA site as we go along. But it's a good start to the day and the first announcement that we had.
And you can see, folks, the address, the web address for the show is right below us right here. And speaking of things going on, in a big way, we had Claude Donati on from Nexus not too long ago. and probably America's largest independent manufacturer. They just announced a huge expansion. Talk about that.
They did. They bought another building out in Elkhart. They're going to double their production. Double their production. They're going to add 50 more positions. So they'll be expanding out the product line, and that's a good sign. And that's again indicative of the activity in the industry right now. And we wish them all the best of luck out there as they continue to grow the company and add more dealers nationwide.
Now that's the story from the manufacturer's perspective, but there's also another interesting retailer and manufacturer's story that broke about Lazy Days and their one-line store that they're going to be opening up. Tell us about that, Bob.
They're going to be opening an Airstream only store at one of the dealerships they have in Minnesota, and they just recently bought a second one in Minnesota. And this is not a big trend right now, but I think you'll see more of it in the Airstream family, because Airstream also has RV1 or Airstream of Tampa. That is an exclusive Airstream store where the only thing you're going to find on the lot, much like this Lazy Days expansion, is an Airstream and another Airstream and another Airstream. We've seen that in the automobile world where they have exclusive dealerships. We haven't seen too many here. We have a couple of Jayco exclusive dealers in the country, but not those people. Sometimes they have a different variety of used equipment and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. But that's a trend that Airstream would like to have their dealers, because it's such an iconic brand. They want to separate themselves differently. And hey, if you're going to sell an Airstream, the only thing you're going to sell is an Airstream. So
yeah, exactly. Have that exclusive store. Now, one of the things that I noticed not too long ago is that Matt Light, former New England Patriots, Matt Light, and as we release this show, it's right around Super Bowl time. Now, the New England Patriots are not there, although there's a former member of the Patriots that is going to be involving himself in the Super Bowl. But
wait a minute, John. The Patriots aren't in the Super Bowl?
Well, not this year. Maybe not next year either, the way Buffalo's going. But, Matt Light, former Patriot.
But we donated a player to Tampa so they could be in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And you know what? Matt Light is doing some work for the Go RVing campaign, and the Go RVing people are finding out that football fans are phenomenal campers.
Well, Matt's a great personality, and he has stayed in the Boston area after his career. He has a vodka company, a distillery, and he has made about 6 or 8 right now. There's a new series of Go RVing videos that you'll see on YouTube to drive people to the Go RVing channel, and they're listed under the newbie toolkit. So again, the industry, the dealers, ourselves in some of our efforts are promoting this for the first time buyers. We understand they need a lot of education, and they're getting it from many different portals, but just Google Matt Light and newbie toolkit, NEWBI, NEWBIE, newbie toolkit series on Go RVing, and check out some of his videos. He's a good on-air personality. He's very comfortable in front of the camera, and one of them, and I think it's number 6, if I'm not mistaken, it's filmed at Normandy Farms with our good friend Marcia Calvin.
And Normandy Farms
acting as the desk clerk, checking in old Matt Light.
Well, it's nice, when Matt comes in to deal with one of the owners, huh?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, this one's for you, Marcia.
Yeah. So you know what? A couple of things
it's not fake stuff. Matt's the big RVer.
Yep.
He's a big Class A diesel pusher guy. Yeah.
Exactly. So a couple quick stories here, and it's amazing that the more and more we see the demand that is being placed on the national parks. With 50% of the new people coming in last year being first-time RVers, these people want to get out there. Now, there are the people that want to do the boondocking, but national parks are a huge attraction to RVers. The big question is, are the national parks going to be able to handle the influx of new RVers in the next few years. Any thoughts on that, Bob?
They're probably not, to be honest with you. The number of new RVers that are going out there, and interesting enough, a lot of these new RVers, they want the state parks and the national parks. They want to be out with nature, and that's going to put a big load on them. And there are bills that have been approved in Congress to start to build back the infrastructure of the parks, make some of the sites larger, get more utilities into some of these sites. But that's going to be a long-term project over the next 5 or 10 years. So they're starting to plan for it. But again, the old adage, and we seem to say it every week, is you better make those reservations early for those parks that you can get them, where they have a reservation system. Some of them are still first come, first serve, whoever shows up at the gate in the morning.
Yep. In our last topic, talk about the influx and people wanting to go to national parks. Our friend Mark Kapp put together a seminar for the industry not too long ago, just like a couple of weeks ago. It was called Buy, Build, or Sell, because there are so many people that have lost their jobs because of COVID, or just said, you know what, I'm tired of the corporate stuff. And this was a seminar that I think is still available online, where people can find out about the opportunities to buy an existing RV park, build one, or those that may be ready to retire want to sell it, and then the new people may want to buy it. So we're going to have that link down there.
To give you an example of the interest level out there in building new parks, which again, we haven't seen for probably 10 years, Mark was going to be happy if he got 250 to 300 people, because this was a specific audience. You had to, like you say, buy, build, or sell. You had to want to do that. As a new business person, they got over 600 people
600
at
people.
the conference.
Well, the thing that we've been talking about, and one of our topics today, one of our stars today, is people that are full-timing, and they're young people, but they can take their business on the road. And what COVID has done, outside of totally explode, and I mean that in a positive way, the RV industry, has allowed people to realize that they don't have to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours in rush hour traffic every morning. Their companies are surviving, and many of them are thriving without that. Yep. So a lot of people are saying, you know what, I can go on my own, and I'm not hitched to that corporate ladder like I have been for generations. Yep. So the interest, and I think KOA and Jellystone, the Yogi Bear parks, are in the midst of expanding their franchise opportunities like never before.
That's right. Yep.
So
it's busy in the RV industry, John.
Busy, and the busiest part, Bob, the hardest part is us being able to take the news and put it into a manageable time frame so that we still have time to fit our other two big stories in. So right. With that being said, that wraps up the news segment, and we've got a great show coming up for you today. This is John DePietro along with Bob Zagambi saying, stay with us, because this is the name of the show, Bob.
Report show.
The Camp Report Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Are you having trouble with RV trip planning?
Hey guys, we're Phil and Stacy from You, Me, and the RV.
And we're here to tell you about our favorite planner, RV Trip Wizard.
You can choose from over 20,000 campgrounds using filters to search for the types of campgrounds you love, like national parks or BLM, or our favorite, Army Corps of Engineer parks. You can even check reviews before you make a reservation.
Want to learn more? Head over to rvlife.com and learn about their entire RV bundle. And we'll see you on the road.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to this segment of the Camper Report Show. And I've said it over and over again, you meet the nicest people, and you meet them in the craziest places. And the reason that we're talking to the folks that we're talking to today is that the young lady that we're talking with, her dad allowed their dog to drive their RV, and it didn't end well. So we found out after talking with Eric Jackson, as you may have seen the interviews in a few of the previous shows, they are active RVers, and Emily and Nick, who are our guests today, spend at least 6 months of the year in an RV, and I think that they drive a little bit more than their dog. So Nick and Emily, welcome to the Camper Report show.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
Thanks so much, Sean.
It's not really the best way to get introduced is that your dog drove an RV into the lake, but it did kind of provide some international notoriety to you guys, right?
It most certainly did. It was entertaining to watch, but that doesn't surprise me. Anyone that's in my dad's RV is a character, including the dog, apparently. So.
Exactly. So Nick, you are in the kayak world, and Emily, you grew up in the kayak world. So tell us about your RVing escapades and why it's virtually mandatory that you have an RV if you want to be a competitive kayaker.
Well, Emily grew up RVing and kayaking with her dad and traveling around to different events. And then kind of when we became a couple and we've gone through various, different types of RVs and camper trailers and stuff like that. But for us, just the ability to be nomadic and travel around from event to event, from state to state, and essentially just wherever the weather's good, wherever the rivers are running. It's just ideal to be able to be on the road and be able to, move locations on a whim. And we've gone from, I think originally we were in a Volkswagen Westfalia, and we've gone through a couple.
The kind with the smoke coming out of the windows, that kind of Volkswagen.
Yeah, ours was more coming out of the engine for sure, but it definitely had some issues. And we've upgraded variously through different types of RVs and stuff. And now we've got a truck and trailer, which we've been super stoked on. And yeah, it's really opened up this freedom to just go wherever we want and attend these different events and go explore some amazing rivers and locations with the family.
Yep. For me, honestly, it's what an advantage it is to take your home with you. It's taking a big step out of traveling and visiting places, just the concept of we're at home. I'm not thinking about what to throw into a bag. I'm not thinking about, this is my home, this is my space. And for us competitively, it's a big element. People spend a lot of time thinking about how are they going to cook the meals they want to eat and how are they going to sleep well. And all of that's taken out of the question for us, because we're at home everywhere we go.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that in the kayaking world, you're probably not in major cities. And I have a friend who was a journalist following the Bass Tour, and he said he had to get an RV because in the small towns that they went to, the hotel accommodations were not exactly 5-star.
Yeah, we've done that. We did that for sure for a little bit. It's not ideal. I mean, it was a short window of time and it adds up. It's expensive, life as an athlete and as new parents and stuff like that. The bills add up and price wise, trailers just make sense.
Well, that and some of the places, I mean, I would almost say
we camped a lot too.
Yeah, a fair amount of them didn't even have hotels and accommodations. So just having the ability to have the trailer is amazing.
And being professional athletes, your diet is very important. So you can bring your food with you. It's not like you have to depend upon the local fast food restaurant for sustenance. I mean, you probably eat salads and granola and oats
and Twinkies and Skittles. No, for sure. I love cooking, so I think that's actually a big element of living in a trailer as well. Is that cooking is a big part of family and our lifestyle, and I think you lose that a little bit when you have to eat out for every meal. And just having that, with the family, we sit down, we have dinner, together in the trailer, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Emily, I don't want to go too far back, but you kind of grew up on this because when I did some research, you were in second grade or so when your family hit the road full time in an RV and even did the homeschooling thing along with your brother as well, right?
Yeah. So, in 1998, I was 8 years old. My parents decided that house living wasn't for them. We didn't see my father very much because he was an athlete and had to travel, and it didn't make sense financially. So he threw us all into an RV and we all got to go together to all these events. And so the RV really, for me, it was the moment of family bonding and traveling. And that was like such a big thing for me. We went from this like slightly separated family into this family that did everything together. And I just wanted my kids to have that same experience. You know, you can't slam a door in each other's face when you're angry. You know, we're in this space together.
I know the door would fall off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Exactly.
like, you know, we have to work through things together, and the teamwork is really crucial when you're living in a space like that. And I think it gives you the opportunity to have that as a family as well.
So Eric, you used the word before, nomadic, a nomadic life, but you use that in the best sense of the word, because you guys can kind of pack up, you know, when you want. And I know that the tour sets your schedule, but you don't have to go back to home base at the end of each event. You can move on to the next one. And I'm sure that with your own children, the country that they're seeing right now is going to put them miles ahead of kids their own age who've only seen it through a you know, computer or a tablet.
Oh, no, for sure. So homeschooling the kids, when I grew up in the RV, I was homeschooled as well, like you said, with my brother. And it was really interesting. You know, we'd learn about the Nez Perce Indians, and then we would drive to Mesa Verde in Colorado and go actually see the ruins and stuff like that, you know, as a family. And so the hands-on learning really made a lot of this stuff come alive for us, and it really made us appreciate a lot of the stuff we were learning and what you learn just generally. I mean, it's really amazing what the kids, they just, once they see it with their own eyes, you know, visiting the sequoias and just being there, their appreciation and their understanding of it is so much better than I ever would have imagined.
I would also even say that before that we had kids, I would try to like rally from one event to the next event as fast as possible, driving like through the night and
more training time,
just to get more training time or more time on the river. And then we don't do that with the kids because it would just be cruel and unusual punishment to put them in the car seat for, you know, 16-hour days at a time. So we purposefully stop at as many different like state parks, national parks, municipal parks along the way, just to kind of break up the drive. And we have seen so much more of the country that now I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I missed all of this for all of those years, because the country is just so gorgeous, and there's so much to see and experience.
More than you can imagine. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Now, when you're on the tour, how many competitors are generally involved in each event?
It's different per region. So like some of them have 100 competitors, some have 50. You know, in Colorado, it's a really popular area for everyone to kind of congregate together, you know, big groups of paddlers. But by region, it changes dramatically. But as far as like following that nomadic lifestyle, you know, there's about, you know, 50 people that travel around from event to event. And then
kind of like the PGA Tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Or NASCAR.
That or the circus, one of the two.
Yeah.
Right, the circus. Right.
A lot less money.
Exactly. They say the circus doesn't exist anymore, but it still does everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So the other competitors, the fellow competitors, what percentage of them are RV bound versus car bound?
When I was a kid, we were the only RV, really. There was no other RVs because, you know, affordability was a big part of it. A lot of people redid their own vans. Now we're seeing a lot of Sprinter vans that a lot of the competitors redid themselves into a form of an RV. But now I think people are actually not buying their houses or paying for dorms. When the college students, for example, are investing into RVs because they're like, wait a minute, when I go on my competitive tour and then when I go back to college, this is way cheaper than my general college dorm fees. So I think that's one thing we're seeing more of. And now it's, you know, there's probably 20 plus people that have some form of RV in a sense.
Yeah, whether it's an RV or a truck and trailer or
some of the pop-up style kind of campers. So.
Yeah.
Exactly, a little bit of everything. So what advice would you have to other people that may not necessarily be in kayaking, but they might be your age, and you know, because of COVID, they don't have to go to the office anymore. They don't have to go to downtown Nashville or Baltimore or Chicago or Washington, D.C., Emily, where I guess you grew up, where traffic is, you know, a bigger part of the morning rush than weather and politics, believe it or not. What advice would you have to those folks that and said, geez, you know, I'd love to do that, but then I'm kind of afraid.
Well, I mean, if fear is the question, I would say just dive headfirst straight in and overcome the fear by just doing it, because really there's nothing to be afraid of. Fear is, in my mind, and in the world that I live in, fear is a made up thing where it's something of the mind, where there's a difference between fear and danger. Danger is real, where, you know, there could be a life-threatening scenario. Fear is just like a made up situation in your mind. So if you're just fearful of it,
Danger
I
and
would
fear,
say,
that's very interesting dichotomy of those words.
yeah, but I would say if it's just fear, go for it and overcome that fear. And, you know, joy is on the other side of fear, where you're really going to be, you know, enjoy yourself in the moment after you've kind of taken those steps. So I would say just go for it. And on the other side of things, if you haven't traveled the country and you haven't taken an RV and explored, it is just a great adventure. The country is so beautiful. There is so much that, I mean, people are aware of, you know, the Yosemites and the Grand Canyons and some of the major national parks, but there's a lot of incredible state parks or smaller national parks as well that are less known. And the United States alone is just such an amazing country, and there's just so much beauty that I think most people are either unaware of or haven't seen, that I would highly encourage people to go and just take on the adventure.
So let me ask you this, you guys. Can we check in with you throughout? You hit the road in March or so. Can we check in with you around then, and depending upon where you are, and maybe instead of a home background, you'll have a beautiful waterfall or trees and that type of thing. If you'd allow us to do that, we'd appreciate it.
Sounds great. We'll check back in then, John.
Great. So, folks, we want to thank Nick and Emily for spending this time with us, and their information is down below where you can follow them in their travels. And we want to tell you that this is the Camper Report Show. Stay with us, because we'll be back with more right after this.
Are you using Google Maps to guide your RV?
Hey guys, it's Phil and Stacy from You, Me, and the RV. And we want you to travel safely and avoid those low bridges.
With RV Life, your phone will become an RV Safe GPS, providing turn-by-turn directions based on the dimensions of your RV. Don't buy an expensive RV GPS. RV Life has you covered and will keep you going in the right direction.
Want to know more about RV Safe GPS? Head on over to rvlife.com and learn about the entire RV bundle. You'll thank us later.
All right, welcome back everybody to the Camper Report Show, and today my guest is Mike Hesse. Hesse,
if you don't mind.
Hesse, okay. I knew your dad, and I know some people. You must get half and half.
Yeah, really, and I really never do correct it, because as long as you don't call me late for dinner, I don't care what you call me, right? So it's all good. But Hesse is the actual term.
Great. Mike, the company's got a tremendous history going way back, multiple generations. Tell us about that, because it speaks to the integrity of the company, the quality of the products, and your business philosophy.
Well, Bob, for starters, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Blue Ox, talk about the history, everything that we've done. But we have now been, so Blue Ox, we're going on our 96th year, okay? So I'm fourth generation owner of Blue Ox. We actually started our business back in 1995, actually in farm equipment. And my dad 30 years ago morphed us into RV towing equipment as well, so geared for the aftermarkets. So we still do a lot of different things actually out of our manufacturing facility. We continue to add product lines as well, so we're continuing to grow our manufacturing business, which is a lot of fun. But no, we're family owned. That's how it's going to be, and I'm excited in the future for my kids to be involved in the business as well.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I must be getting old in this business, because your dad was one of the first people that I wrote about when I started writing at RV News back in '96, and he was a big fan of the magazine and had a great relationship. And I know he took me to one NASCAR race, and I think you guys were sponsoring NASCAR, some cars at that time. So I used to do one NASCAR article a year, and I wound up in the pits with the Blue Ox team one year, which was great.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great because, well, for starters, this industry, we talked a little bit, but I worked for my dad back in high school and college back in the 90s, right? Then when I got out of college, I went a different path and then got back in the business about 4 years ago. And the unique thing that I just love about this industry is I don't care what dealership you go into, what customer you talk to. It's just the most friendly people that you'll ever meet and ever talk to. And the greatest thing is, I don't know that I can, you talk with someone who's been in the business for 15, 20 years. Everyone says, I remember your dad and he took me to a race at XYZ, right? Like that's story that every story that I talk about. And it's so great because, my dad instilled in me at a very young age, right? You're going to take care of the customer, right? We want to do what we can to take care of the customer. And he was very passionate about NASCAR, and he wanted to take his customers, who in essence were his friends, to these races. So it was kind of a cool thing that he really, really enjoyed.
Well, look, since you've been back, you've added some products, and we talked earlier about putting some of the automation in, which tell the story about where Blue Ox is located and the challenges of building a company when the industry's going crazy.
Absolutely. So when I got back involved in the business, basically 4 years ago, at prior businesses that I've been at, we've had a very good track record of really growing our brand, right? So coming into things, I knew that we were going to be able to, looking at the RV industry, I said, okay, what do we have to do to grow? We're going to grow. So I came in and my dad had a huge manufacturing plant, right? 110,000 square feet. So I looked at it, okay, we got plenty of space. But our manufacturing business is in Pender, Nebraska. Now, I've the greatest employees, right, ever that work at Pender, Nebraska. It's just, unfortunately, Pender's a town the size of about 1,000 people. So we have limited workforce beyond that. So 4 years ago, we started making major investments in the infrastructure of the plant and started to automate. Now we have, someone shows up to work every day, they will always have a job at Blue Ox, right? You come in, you're coming to work, you're going to have a job. So we didn't bring in automation to replace people. We brought in automation to extend our growth. And just over the course of the last 4 years, we have been investing millions and millions of dollars in the automation of our facility. In fact, Bob, I'd love to have you out someday because we're very proud of what we have in Pender, Nebraska. And it's, just to kind of show what we can do. And as our sales have been, so over the course of the last couple of years, we really started to go into hyper growth mode and really started focusing and growing our products and in multiple different spaces, right? So we started growing that, and the automation has just been able to really help us keep up with demand.
Well, you've always been known as the specialist in flat towing, and Motorhome Magazine you've been a gold recipient of their award every year since 2012, 2013, when they inaugurated that award. But you moved into you actually responded to the demands of the marketplace with the next generation, millennials and Gen Zs. They're buying smaller trailers. They don't know a lot about towing. They don't know a lot about RVing. They're first time buyers, but you made that switch, not a switch, but you responded by a whole line of weight distribution products. So talk about that and where are you going with that?
Well, for sure. And actually, the just to go back on the flat towing, since the inception of that award back in 2012, Blue Ox has won it for the best tow bar every year. We actually came out with a marketing campaign this year called Undefeated. So, why wouldn't you want to go with the best tow bar, right? That is been voted number one since the inception of the award. So we're very excited about that. Yep. But we've and we'll continue, right? As we said, we're going to continue. We are the dominant player in tow bars, base plates, and braking systems. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to grow in that area, but we've really shifted focus as well and started to grow our weight distribution line for travel trailers. And we came out at a very unique time. When I started going out and talking with our dealerships, we only had one weight distribution hitch. It was called the Sway Pro, very high end product. But it was almost like a niche product, right? So we had dealers on there, but it was really geared towards people that wanted to spend money. It was a very value added product, but we didn't have kind of a full product line like a lot of the other weight distribution suppliers had. So we started talking with our customers. They said, you're going to need the full gamut, right, of products. So we started working on those. And actually, we came up with a very unique product that we called the Track Pro. And the original design of the Track Pro was to kind of have a medium tier level hitch. And what ended up happening is it actually, I'll say it's, again, I'm biased, but it's the best hitch on the marketplace. All right. So we have a couple different things. We have true spring bars, right? So a lot of the weight distribution hitches out there, it's cold rolled steel, very rigid, right? So someone's driving down the road and that you're feeling that trailer, right? We have some unique technology with true spring bars. So we actually give our trailers active suspension, right? So you got a smooth ride when you're going down the road with a Blue Ox Track Pro, right? Our Blue Ox weight distribution system. So we're not only that, but we have kind of 4 unique points of sway control, right? We actually prevent sway with how we pitch the head on our weight distribution hitch, so it actually prevents sway from happening. And then we have some friction L brackets. So if there's a day where you get some serious crosswind, those friction L brackets come into play, and it just lines that trailer up in the back. So we've really developed just some unique selling propositions for the customer. And oh, by the way, so this is, again, I'm going to say it's the best weight distribution hitch out there. Our suggested retail is significantly cheaper than the other high-end hitches that are out there. So we're not only just providing the customer with a better experience, but we wanted to provide them with an opportunity to be able to step into a product that they can afford. So it's just, again, one way that Blue Ox is trying to really help our customers move the ball forward.
Well, and that's the benefit of automation, and the benefit of the workforce, and the benefit of making it in America. Two other things before we go. We don't have a lot of time, but what's the origin? And I don't know the answer to this, but I found out something this morning doing some research. What was the origin of the name of Blue Ox? Do you know?
My dad bought that name. So back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, he wanted to diversify. So he bought Blue Ox. They're located out in California. He also bought a product line called Duncan, and
right.
Old tow bar lines, right?
Yeah.
And he merged them together into Blue Ox, but I'm sorry, I'm not the history buff on that.
I'm not either, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I found an interesting thing that maybe you might want to take advantage of. Now, we've all heard of Paul Bunyan, right?
Yes.
The biggest, tallest, strongest man in the world.
Yes.
He had a pet. A blue, and it was in this fairy tale land. It was a Blue Ox, and the pet's name was Babe. And I looked at that because I came up on one of my searches, and I said, wow, they're big, they're powerful, they dominate the industry. You might have a new, slogan or a new animal to rep the country. One other thing, you also, because you talked about customer service and the customer always being first, talk a little bit about your RV park. Because that's, people don't expect to find an RV park in Penda, Nebraska, but they don't expect to find the largest manufacturer of tow bars there either.
Yes. So, again, it was one thing that my dad was truly passionate about, right? So was RVers, and we have RVers coming up to our facility all the time. Of course, when we're doing base plate fits for all the new vehicles, right? We're bringing customers in. We're doing the fits. We're bringing everything in. So the idea was to have in our park. And we have a park where we have, I think, 24 different slots. Really have, over the course of the years, have really done a nice job grooming everything. And then when my dad passed, I wanted to do something for him. So we built the J. Hesse Welcome Center. And so it's just a great place for the customers to come in, chill out on a warm day, right, with the AC going, TV on, all the free beverages that they could possibly want. But we really want to make, we always want to give that customer a great experience, right? And even when we're asking them to come to Pender, Nebraska, we want their stay to be, as great as possible. So yeah, no, it's been fun. And again, Bob, I'd love to have you out, and I'd love to do this, you're right, in person. But as we're kind of going through our manufacturing facility, and it is funny that you give me an idea. We are in the process of doing some rebranding things as we continue to just really push and promote Blue Ox. We're doing everything we can to really, advertise to all of our new customer base, which is the millennials, the Gen Xers, as you said, and really focus on that going forward.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you very much for joining us on the Camper Report Show today. We could probably talk for about 8 hours, but I don't think the producers would appreciate a segment that long. But it's been very enjoyable. Thanks again for joining us, and hopefully I will come out as soon as we're able to travel and get out there. I'd love to do it, and thank you. So, any closing words for our fans?
No, just again, thank you for the opportunity for having us, and appreciate the opportunity for Blue Ox to be a customer for everyone and a supplier for everyone in the RV industry. Really appreciate everyone's business, and just stay safe out there.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.